Hello, friends. Sarah Sunstone here, and welcome back to Thinking Out Loud. Today, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the latest edition of the Witchbrook Oracle. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it. So here we have issue number 3, published on the 21st of spring, titled Civic Witchcraft, Helping Your Community. I will have this edition of the Oracle linked in the description if you want to follow along with me, along with my breakdown of the previous edition to make sure you're all caught up. Once again, this Oracle is going to give us a little bit of a peek into the world of Witchbrook, some of the gameplay features we might be able to expect, a confirmed NPC character, and once again, something very suspicious, so be sure to stick around until the end of the video. Fortunately, we do have yet another brand new screenshot from within the game. This is of the Calico clothing store, which we're going to hear about in this Oracle, but we did also see this building in the trailer. The mannequins in the window are actually displaying different clothing from the ones that were included in that trailer, so it's possible that there will be a rotating selection of clothes that we'll be able to get for our character, which would be amazing. So here it says, so you've waved your wand, sat through a few classes, maybe even started feeling like a proper witch. Now comes the next part of your magical education. Civic Witchcraft. So this is actually really exciting to me as the topic of the Oracle, because not only will you be able to study witchcraft and be a part of this magical education type of setting, but the gameplay will extend beyond your years of study and out into the wider world of Witchbrook, so the town of Mossport specifically, and it has been confirmed that you'll be able to take on little odd jobs and help around town and such, so this is kind of honing in on that aspect of the gameplay, which I'm really excited for and love that we're getting some further details on this. Civic Witchcraft is how we take all our spells and lessons and actually do something with them. It's about looking around and thinking, what can I do to make things better? And then actually doing it. However weird, small, or wonderful it might be, it's as simple as that. So then the Oracle goes on to give us some examples while also confirming an NPC character and giving us more details on the clothing shop. So here it says, as a great example, take my coven mate Hannah Sato. She works part-time at Calico, that pastel dream of a clothing shop right in the heart of Mossport's boardwalk. So this alone confirms a boardwalk within the town of Mossport to explore. That Calico is, in fact, as speculated, a clothing shop, and the official name of an NPC, which is Hannah. It goes on to say the shop is packed with all the big brands, but it's Hannah who transforms it into something special. The mannequins in the window, the head-to-toe looks that feel like they were meant just for you, all her. And so Hannah is actually this character who appears to perhaps live above the clothing shop, which is really cool. And we can make that connection in this next paragraph. Right when someone walks in and says, sorry, I don't really look good in anything, I light up like a firework, she told me, flipping her pink ponytail over her shoulder while hanging cardigans. So yes, this is definitely Hannah. Hannah has a pink ponytail, looks like she lives above the clothing shop, and she can also be seen in this screenshot here of the clothing store. Whether or not Hannah will be romanceable is something we don't yet know, but in case you didn't know, there will be both friendship and romance in Witchbrook, so it's definitely a possibility. So then it goes on to say that Hannah will grab the flowiest shirt you've ever seen or the world's happiest pair of shoes, and suddenly they're looking in the mirror like they've just remembered who they are. I might burst from how happy it makes me. So she seems like a real sweetheart who really wants to help others and also loves fashion. And this is definitely an interesting example for using magic out in the world. There are some other examples given here. So some students deliver letters for the post office, dodging seagulls and navigating Mossport's winding streets. We have seen a little bit of that in the trailer. Looks like you might be able to deliver packages on foot, with a scooter, and maybe atop a broom. And I think this is something that we'll also be able to actually do in our own gameplay. Others will sweep up after weekend foot traffic, which we also somewhat saw in the trailer. There's a clip of someone picking up a bunch of lemons that have spilled using their magic. So there could easily be little things like that around town. And if you see something that's maybe a little bit of a miss, you can cast a spell at it and it'll, straighten itself out. They also gave the example of fixing leaky water fountains before anyone realizes they've gone wonky, another activity or action that was shown in the trailer, so maybe some things will also be broken around the world. Once again, we can cast that spell and fix it up to help out. It also says that some sell homemade goods at the Sunday market, which is interesting because in the previous edition, they were talking about the spring festival and how there's a market as part of that event, but it sounds like there will also maybe be these weekly Sunday markets as well to frequent, and perhaps we can participate in these markets as customers where we go and shop, but maybe also on the other side of it as a merchant if we decide to cook or craft and then sell our wares. And finally, for an example of that civic witchcraft, it says that others simply take time to talk to the people they cross paths with, becoming a steady, recognizable presence in town. So less on the side of using your magic and more on the side of just being there for the community, which ties back into that whole friendship and interactions with NPCs and then possible romance, if you so choose. This portion of the oracle concludes by saying delightful. So what about you? Already found your thing? Brilliant. Still figuring it out? Even better. Try mixing things up, which is interestingly underlined, and we're gonna come back to that later on. Talk to someone new, wander into a place you've never been. You just never know what corner of Mossport is waiting for a witch like you. So that honestly gave us so much information already, but of course there is more. The right-hand column here is titled, Ugh, I've never been in the library. And this is the portion of the oracle that is, written in by someone anonymous, who in this case is signed Ill, Read, and Afraid. And they share they've never officially been inside the library. Not once. They've seen it from the outside, they know where it is, they've hovered near the doors like an awkward ghost. They've even lingered with intent, but for 3 whole years, they've walked past those big grand doors and told themselves they were too busy and just kept walking. But they want to know, how does it work? What's it like in there? Is there a process? Do you grab a book and just read it? Is there a checkout ritual, a librarian/book guardian? Until now, they've survived somehow, using study groups, borrowed notes, and an impressive amount of memory, but they've had to retake the same class 6 times now. 6. At this point, it feels too late to ask. So if you see someone standing outside the library pretending to check their bag for the 5th time in a row, that is them. They might go in or they might not. Please don't watch. And once again, I just love how these columns and such paint this picture of Witchbrook being this living, breathing world. I do want to talk about the library because we have, I believe, seen it in the trailer, and also this note about having to retake the same class. So in the trailer, we saw a bunch of little mini games that it looks like you'll have to do to kind of participate in your class. I wonder if there will be sort of exams for these classes, and if you will have to retake them if you don't pass them, or if you can retake them if you want to enjoy those mini games again, or if you want to re-experience some of those gameplay elements. So that's just an interesting thing to think about. But as for the library, I am curious to know if there's any functionality to it beyond just visiting it and hanging out with your friends or on your own. I believe this is the library. It's not confirmed or anything, but there's a lot of books and it looks like a library, so I'm gonna say it's a library. I really noticed right from the beginning when I first saw the trailer that the different bookcases have symbols on them. So potions, gardening, divination, fortune telling, maybe healing, crafting. Down here it looks almost like this is a forageable type of section, maybe spell casting. This one I was stumped on. I know some of you mentioned it's the same symbol from the logo of Witchbrook, so maybe it has to do with lore or something within the world, or history on, the town, or history on the school. But I definitely feel like this is intentional, and so I wonder how that connects to gameplay. If we can, read through lore books in here, if we can maybe just interact with them and maybe exchange that interaction for certain skill points or something like that to give us perks or buffs for our magical abilities and actions we can take in the world. Maybe interacting with these will unlock new classes or connect to our existing classes. There's really a lot that we can speculate on with regards to the library, so I would love to hear your thoughts on this down in the comments. And, do you think this is going to be connected to gameplay, or do you think it's just here for show? I don't know. I really think with these symbols on the bookcases, this really tells me that there's been thought and intention put into these different categories of books. So I feel like I can't help but think that there'll be some gameplay aspect to it. So this next section of the Oracle gets me really excited because it's asking for craft submissions right here. Craft submissions wanted. Have a favorite recipe for seasonal wreaths or other witchy crafts? I'm collecting student-made creations to feature in future issues of the Oracle. Slide your ideas under my door at 2 Adelard Cross. All types of non-glitter crafts welcome. So I'm excited because we do know that there will be some, sort of crafting system in the game, and I would love to see what sorts of things we can actually make. So I'm kind of hoping the next edition of the Oracle will give us some more hints into the crafting system and craftable items. Are they going to be potions? Are they going to be those goods that we can sell, which it seems like that is the case? Will we be able to craft furniture and decor for our home? Will we be able to use textiles to make clothing, capes, hats? Like, I'm very curious about this whole crafting system. So, I mean, here it essentially confirms we can make seasonal wreaths, probably to decorate our door with. So that does kind of suggest we can make some sort of decor for our home. And then, of course, recipes. It seems like we will be able to do a little bit of cooking, maybe make some of those jams or, other goods like that for the markets. But what could other witchy crafts be? I need to know. So, of course, I will be covering the next Oracle as well and breaking that all down. So make sure you guys are subscribed with your notifications on so you don't miss out on any news for Witchbrook. Then we have a nice little ad for Calico, which is that clothing store where it's located at 8 Whitecap Esplanade. And they have a little note up here for their spring collection. So it does seem like they'll have maybe different collections of clothing that would tie into that, rotating mannequin theory as well. So hopefully lots of new clothes to choose from for different aesthetics and styles. Then at the bottom here, we have 3 minor headlines. So the first is The Dogs of Mossport, a field guide. An affectionate look at Mossport's most beloved pooches, their routines, and the names everyone should know. Now this makes me excited because I love dogs. If you don't, now you know I love dogs so much. I love all animals, but I really love dogs. And so far we've seen quite a few animals actually in the gameplay footage. So we've seen like birds, we've seen squirrels, we have seen cats, but I personally haven't been able to pick out any dogs yet. I have combed through the trailer to try and find dogs. Couldn't find them, but here it is confirmed there will be dogs. I don't know if we'll be able to have our own dog, our own pet or familiar, but at least they will be in the world and hopefully we can pet them. Next, we have evening classes, peaceful or a nightmare, a sleepy investigation. So I do think this is kind of interesting to know that there will be classes theoretically all throughout the day, and I'm imagining some of those evening ones might be on the spookier topics. This may be hinting that there's more to the school than meets the eye. Maybe some things come alive at night, or maybe it's just in the imagination of students. Finally, here we have a bit of an ad for the school shop, which has been mentioned before, and this one's titled Seasonal Temptations, followed by stating that no one needs a 7th witch hat, and yet, sponsored. So far, I think the only thing that's been confirmed to be sold in the school shop are those witch hats. I imagine there's probably more we can purchase there, but I once again do hope there'll be lots of variety in the witch hats. I feel like most of them look pretty uniform in the trailers, so I would like to see more variety because I feel like having a really personalized witch hat is one of the ultimate things you could probably have for this universe, along with a personalized broom and maybe a special wand. At the bottom here, they also give a bit of a peek into the next issue. So it seems like the next issue will be focusing on the charm of tourist season in Mossport and what it means for the witches who call it home. So this is definitely hinting that there will be visitors that come to, tour Mossport on vacation, maybe for a bit of a weekend getaway. And so I wonder how that will impact gameplay, if it's more of just a way to kind of make the town feel more lively with more folks wandering around, or if maybe some of these tourists will have stories or minor quests, kind of like errands you could do to help them out. Or just another thought, maybe tourist season, whenever that is in Mossport, will have busier markets. So if you set up your market stand, you might get more sales or more business at that time of year compared to, markets at different times of the year. That's just one idea based off of the information we've been given so far. But, stay tuned. We'll learn more about that in the next issue of the Oracle. And listen, I almost thought there was nothing suspicious about this edition of the Oracle, which is odd because the last one was very sus and had a secret code word in it and everything. But this really got me, this underlined try mixing things up. I tried mixing these letters around for a while and couldn't come up with anything. I've read this over many times and I kind of thought from a writing perspective that some of this was a little odd, like starting this paragraph with delightful was like not exactly necessary. And so I eventually realized that putting the first letter of each paragraph here actually spells out scared, S-C-A-R-E-D, which didn't make me feel any better about anything because why am I scared? And then, I thought maybe I'm just reading into it too much. But last time I tried placing the code word in the URL. So I tried doing that again. So witchbrook.com/scared. You're probably not gonna like what I'm gonna show you here. Because it's very, I don't know, unsettling, I guess. And it is like flickering. Thank you to those of you who told me it wasn't just my eyes playing tricks on me in the last one. It is actually like brightening up and then fading out. This is something like hello, helio, help. I hope it's not help. This is a W and an H. And then here it says scare and not safe. Lots of dots and question marks. I don't know what these characters are in the background. I have no idea, like runes or something. I don't know, symbols of some sort. If you guys have any insight into this, please post it in the comments. Maybe we can try and solve this together. Now, I still think this try mixing things up is sus because it's the only thing here that is underlined. Like, can we spell anything else with scared? Dare, wouldn't dare, scared, sacred, like sacred maybe? Let's just try sacred and see if anything happens. Oh! Okay, something did happen. It says you can hear me. Please, if you can understand this, don't hurt me. Okay, that's more unsettling now. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I wonder if there are any other combinations of letters though that we could make with that word, or if that's like just the most obvious one because it's like scared and sacred. Let me know if you guys can scramble the word scared/sacred any further, and then maybe we can try to see if there's another clue. I feel like this is not this doesn't make me feel at peace. But someone's trying to send us a message, obviously. So once again, please share your insight, if you have any, into that little puzzle down in the comments, along with your thoughts on this oracle in general. There was so much information shared here between the new NPC, the new shops, the library, and different things that we're going to be able to do with our witchcraft abilities out in the world beyond the school. Anything and everything. I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. And until next time, take care.